This is episode 280 of Teacher Approved.
You're listening to Teacher Approved, the podcast helping educators elevate what matters and simplify the rest. I'm Heidi.
And I'm Emily. We're the creators behind Second Story Window, where we give research-based and teacher-approved strategies that make teaching less stressful and more effective. You can check out the show notes and resources from each episode at secondstorywindow.net.
We're so glad you're tuning in today. Let's get to the show.
Hey there. Thanks for joining us today. In today's episode, we're doing something a little different because our brand new book is releasing tomorrow. And in honor of that, we are looking back at 4 things we wish we had known a whole lot earlier in our teaching careers. And we've got a teacher-approved tip to make back-to-school season a little easier.
But first, let's start with a Try It Tomorrow where we share a quick win that you can try in your classroom right away. So Emily, what is our suggestion for this week?
Okay, this is a good one and it's super easy. So this week, plan something to look forward to after the back-to-school chaos settles down. So it doesn't have to be big. It could just be dinner out with a friend or buying a book that you've been wanting and then tucking it away to read after everything dies down. The first few weeks of school are so intense. And so it helps you to know that something good is already on the schedule. It's coming later. You've got something to look forward to, even if it's small.
And the scheduling really is the key to making this work. Even if you have to move your plans around later, at least it's on the calendar. It's kind of like keeping your pieces on the game board. Because here's what will happen. Otherwise, you're going to get busy and you're going to forget. And then you won't be sad. We don't want you to be sad.
Yeah.
So pick something today and put it on the calendar.
And if you like this idea or anything else we share here on the podcast, we would appreciate it so much if you just took a second and gave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Well, as Emily mentioned, today is our little book's birthday eve, and we are pretty excited. Tomorrow, our little book baby goes out into the world.
I know. I can't believe it. Honestly, it still doesn't feel real, even though we've held the books in our hands because we started this so long ago. It was November of 2024 that we started this. Honestly, even a little before that, because that's when you wrote up that book outline after we talked about that,
so that was
idea.
Like September. So almost exactly 2 years ago.
So weird. And you'd think that with all that time, we would have written it way early and had all this extra time to spare. And that is not what happened.
Yeah, you would think that. But we finished just under the wire, same as always.
Actually, I think the wire had to be pushed back a little bit. If you've listened to us very long, you can probably guess it's because we wanted to include too much information.
Yeah, some things never change.
Yes, we're perfectionists too, so we had to go over every sentence a million times.
I know, and now I'm scared to look because it's I know as soon as I look at one of these pages, I'm going to find a typo. I just know it.
Yes, or something that I wish we'd said differently or whatever. So I haven't read any of it yet. I've just flipped through it to appreciate it.
I wasn't prepared for how hard it would be to have it in its final evolution where we can't make any changes. So if you find a typo, no, you did not. Okay?
No, you did not. Never tell us a word about that, please. So our hope is just that this book becomes something teachers can keep coming back to every year for some reminders and a little encouragement from 2 teachers who have been there.
Back when we started teaching, we kind of had this thought that there was a perfect system out there, that somewhere in some magic binder or book or from that teacher down the hall who seemed to have it all together, that somebody had it all figured out. And we spent a lot of time looking for that system.
And I don't even know if we realized that's what we were doing. We were just constantly trying to improve everything we were doing to this point of perfection by bringing in all these new ideas. Every time we'd hear something new, we wanted to try it.
All the time. Yeah.
But the thing is, when we couldn't find that, we spent so much more energy trying to build it ourselves. But in the meantime, whenever you had a management issue with a kid that didn't go the way you wanted it to, if your lesson flopped, if the piles of papers on your desk were getting so big they're tipping over, we felt like we yet again were proving that we were failing at this.
And I guess if you really look at it, we technically were failing because we were failing at being perfect teachers, because obviously that's impossible. But looking back, I just have so much love for those poor baby teachers who were just leaving it all on the field every day, because we weren't failing at being effective teachers.
No, or loving ones. Yes, our rooms were cluttery and we were sometimes scrambling to get our planning done, but we were doing so much right. It's just that it's hard to notice the good that's happening when you're so fixated on reaching some impossible ideal.
Yeah, and I think we would have said perfection was impossible, but it was just that job is so hard that it seemed like there had to be big answers we were missing, because how can someone keep doing this for 30 years if every day is this demanding?
Right. But eventually we did figure a few things out. And I wish we'd realized so much sooner that instead of chasing the perfect system, we really needed a system that was responsive. That would have saved us so much stress and time and guilt.
Yeah, and it would have saved us from a lot of work-filled weekends. So that is the philosophy that guided what we put into Structure and Spark, the book. We want to help teachers create the kind of responsive system that helps both teachers and students have their best chances at succeeding every year.
So we put all those tips that we tried and fully tested over the years into the book so that other teachers can learn those same lessons sooner than we learned them.
And instead of just doing a rehash of what's in the book, we decided for this episode to zoom out and take a look at 4 of the big lessons that we have learned over the years.
So these are the ideas that influence the practical tips that we put into the book. So to start with, our first lesson that we wish we had learned earlier is that you need to make systems instead of treating every day like an emergency.
Oh, yeah. If you're spending the whole day triaging which of the demands you're dealing with are most urgent, you're basically living in constant panic.
This is basically where the structure half of Structure and Spark comes in. Of course, the book is more focused on systems for students, but when those systems are in place, it's much easier for you to build your own systems for getting your own stuff done.
And it definitely helps when you know exactly what needs to get done instead of jumping from emergency to emergency and just crossing your fingers that you've covered your bases. So, Emily, what's one system that you built that helped get you out of that emergency mode?
Well, I do think this is probably cheating, but I would say getting a rock solid morning system, morning routine in place. And the only reason that I say it's cheating is because I never had to scramble to figure out how to do this, because I had the benefit of an older sister who had taught the same grade already for, 5 years, 6 years?
I think 5, yeah.
Yeah. So you helped me plan my morning routine from the start with the things you already knew I needed to have. And because of that, my mornings ran so smoothly. And I know that systems for mornings had a big impact on the rest of each day. And I was able to do what I needed to do in the morning, and it just set us all up on the right foot for a successful day.
Well, I am very glad that I had something worthwhile to share. It's got to be the teacher in me, but I feel like if I learned something the hard way, I want to tell everybody else about it, so maybe they can have it a little easier. And that's probably why we have a podcast now.
And it's probably why I was just telling you how I'm basically writing a handbook as the PTA president for the one coming behind me, because I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me any of this stuff? Okay, Heidi, besides your morning routine, when did a system help you get out of that emergency mode?
Well, a big boost for me came when I set up a regular end-of-day routine on Fridays. So the opposite of Emily. Emily had the morning routine. I've got an end-of-day routine. But Fridays became a particular hinge point for me. Normally, I would get to Friday afternoon. It'd be 3:30, and I tell myself, I will figure it out later. I'm just too tired to stay and figure it out next week. So that meant I either had to work on Saturday or start Monday behind. And a lot of weeks, I chose that Monday option. But when I set up a Friday routine, it meant I could start every new week ready to go and not frantically trying to pull the day together. And surprisingly, it also resolved that problem of feeling too tired to stay after school, because I had a finite list of tasks and most of them could be knocked out pretty quickly. But without that list, it just turned into, well, I have to stay until I've caught everything up. And you can never do that.
When you know that there's a dedicated time in your schedule for tackling all your different tasks, it does free you up to focus on what's in front of you instead of feeling like you have to hop from one thing to the next.
And not having to start from zero every time you're trying to do something really does make you more productive. Okay, Emily, what is our second lesson that we wish we'd learned sooner?
Okay, this is a biggie. You're not failing at management. You're just not being proactive. Once you've taught for a little while, you get a sense of the ebb and flow of the school year. And when you can predict something, you can plan for it. So when did you make that shift toward predictive classroom management, Heidi?
Well, I don't know if there was like a specific aha moment where everything changed all at once. I think it was more just slowly realizing that there were pieces I could put into place that had a really big impact on how the day unfolded, like getting the morning routine down, just little bits at a time until I had more of a framework.
Yeah.
But one memory that I have was very clear. It was a field trip morning, and I really felt like I was crushing it as a teacher. So on a normal school day, my students arrived over the course of about 30 minutes, and I would just send them out to play on the playground until the bell rang. That morning, I had the good sense to realize that my kids were going to be coming in extra energized. And if I were sending them out to play where they were all already hyped up, they're going to hype each other up. So that morning, I kept everyone in after they arrived. I had calm instrumental music playing, or probably some Enya. I had everyone get their morning work underway, and then I had them work on calming fast finishers while I dismissed each table for a bathroom break so we weren't rushing. Yes, everyone needs to go, even if you don't feel like it. Being able to just manage all these pieces and keep the energy in the room under control was such an eye-opener about how much I could impact the flow of the day and the energy of my class, even when things were at their craziest. Now I have the vocabulary to be able to say that what I was doing was increasing the structure to balance the increased spark. But at the time, I was going on vibes.
But I love that you said you, at the time, were like, man, I am killing it. Like, I love that you noticed it in the moment of like, dang, I'm doing so good today.
Well, what about you, Emily? What did you start doing differently when you got better at predicting problems?
Well, the first one that comes to mind for me is turning the kids' desks backwards, which if you are a longtime listener, you've heard us talk about that a lot of times. You can absolutely predict that if your students can keep things in their desk, there will be some problems, maybe a lot of problems. They will sometimes get distracted by playing with what's inside. I know my children have gotten in trouble for doing that at school at times. And that desk is going to become a mess. So you will have to spend time having them clean it out. And when I had them turn their desks around, I immediately eliminated the problem of students being distracted because they're playing around inside their desks. And I never had to wait to start a lesson because two kids can't find their writing folder somewhere in that black hole of their desks. And I never had to find room in the schedule for monthly desk cleanouts. Now, I do want to say this idea is not going to work for everyone. Maybe you don't have any place to store desk items, so you have to let them store things in their desk. Or maybe you just don't like this idea, and that's okay. But the principle here was the discovery that when you think ahead about what's likely going to cause friction or suck time out of your day, or it has done that in the past, then most likely there is something you can do to prevent it or at least improve it. And we always say that our favorite classroom management tool is to prevent problems before they start.
Yes, absolutely. Prevention is always easier than repair. And with the desk turnaround, like with some seating arrangements, it didn't work for me to have group supplies. So I did let students keep stuff in their desks, but their desks were still turned around. They had to reach over the edge. They were fine. They're kids. They handled it, no problem. There's really so much you can do to minimize problems, even if you can't fully prevent them, if you have a little bit of proactive thinking about it.
Right. The third thing we wished we'd learned sooner was that our job was to be on the student side against the problem, not to make the student the problem. It's like that thing I hear about parenting where it's like, the baby is the problem. We're on the same team and the baby is the enemy here. We're not fighting with each other about the baby. So it's the same idea. You and the student are on the same side here. And a student who won't pick up a pencil isn't giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. And so you're on their team to help solve the problem.
And I found that when you can remove your own reaction from the situation, it really does help you realize that this kid isn't doing this on purpose. Something is making that child feel like they can't do the work, and that's what you're up against. So, Emily, what shifted your thinking about this over time?
Well, honestly, I think it probably took having kids for me to learn this. So I only got to employ this knowledge in our preschool teaching years, not in second grade. But, when your baby cries, it's not because they like crying. It's because something's wrong. And you can safely assume that the same is true for students because most students want to follow the rules and do what they're meant to be doing. Notice I said most. If the kid is struggling to do that, it's either because the work or the expected behavior is too hard for them. Or it's that something else is going on that's making it too difficult for them to do what you're asking because who knows what happened before they came to school today. So when you get to the root of it, you can help give them the scaffolding they need to get to where you want them to be. Or you can help them work through their dysregulation or whatever other problem is making it too hard for them to go with the flow today. Being on the same team as the student against the problem instead of you against the student and their problem is such a huge shift in thinking. What shifted your thinking about that, Heidi?
Well, unfortunately, I'm in the same boat as you. It took me a really long time to come to this as well. And I think it was when we were teaching preschool. Because when a 3-year-old is having a meltdown, it's really easy to understand that the problem might be that they didn't get enough breakfast, or we were asking them to wait longer than their little body could handle.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was teaching 8-year-olds, I definitely had the attitude of, get it together. No, I was never mean. I wasn't mean or shaming, or I didn't punish, but I was very matter of fact. Like, okay, you're choosing not to do your work right now, so you get to make it up during computers. But knowing what I know now, I think I would have gotten a lot farther if I'd addressed the problem behind the behavior instead of assuming that the child just needed some tough love to get things in line.
Yeah, and all of this comes back to preventing problems where you can. If you fix the reason the student is behaving that way, you have a good chance of minimizing it in the future.
And plus, being a teacher is so much more enjoyable when you don't see every misbehavior as a challenge to your authority. It keeps your stress level so much lower, and it helps you handle a tough moment in a constructive way instead of getting caught in a power struggle and making things way worse.
Right. Okay, and our last lesson that we wish we had learned earlier in our teaching careers is that your whole life doesn't have to be about teaching for you to be a good teacher, even though it can feel that way some weeks. What's something outside of teaching that you wish you had protected better, Heidi?
Oh, for sure. It was time off. Like, I looked at my holidays and weekends kind of like bonus planning time. Like, I worked every single Labor Day my entire teaching career. But, back then, especially when we were starting, we weren't having these conversations about work-life balance. The messaging was very much that martyr narrative that you are shortchanging your students if you're not sacrificing yourself for your job. But that is such toxic messaging, and I wish that was something I had taken to heart sooner. This is something I wonder about a lot. Would my life look different now? Would I maybe have not so many health problems if I had prioritized my life back then? But then I look back and I honestly don't know if I could have done much differently in those early years. Like my first year of teaching, I was given a teacher's guide for math, some paper-based 10 blocks, and a reading basal. And that was all I had to fill all of the content in 180 days of school.
Yep.
Since this was way before teachers pay teachers, and I'm so old, this is even before the internet really had anything on it.
No, you weren't going to the internet to find ideas. You were going to the teacher store to look at the idea books they have there and hoping there were a few ideas in the book you picked out.
Or I would spend my Saturdays at the university library because they had, in the education section, they had copies of textbooks from all these different textbook companies. And so I would make copies out of those to find lessons I could teach my students. That was how I spent my weekends.
Yeah, so there probably isn't a lot you could have done given your particular situation, but it is sad to look back and think of the effect that had on your health and your personal life to have to work that hard all the time.
Yeah, for my $800 a month.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Well, Emily, what would you tell your first year self about work and balance?
Well, I mean, this is a hard one because, especially in your first few years of teaching, it's like if you care about doing it well, then this job is going to take over your life, all your time and energy if you let it. And it's hard not to let it if you care. And we definitely let it be that way for a long time. And to be honest, part of the problem was I didn't even mind it that much because I really loved being a teacher. I loved working with you to create new systems and curriculum for our classes. When we spent all summer doing that, we were going back and forth between our classrooms. I was having a great time.
It was
so
fun.
It's hard when you're genuinely having a great time to notice the fact that it made it so we had very little left to give to anyone or anything else in our lives. And that is just not fair to teachers. You are obviously a whole person who deserves to have a thriving life outside of your job. And if giving that time to yourself and to your loved ones isn't motivation enough, don't forget that old saying about not being able to pour from an empty cup. When you eat, sleep, breathe teaching, you never get a chance to refill your cup. So in the long run, it probably makes you a little bit of a worse teacher because you stop being the best version of yourself when you're so drained.
100%.
Yes. And at the very least, you need to get motivated to give yourself this space and time away from school responsibilities so that you can actually be a better teacher. But you don't have to earn time away from school because it will make you a better teacher. You deserve that time no matter what. I feel like we all know that, but do we really know it? We need to know it.
And what else makes this such a challenge is that it's not like you ever get to the end of your to-do list. There's always more that needs to be done. You're always behind somewhere. And this job is just going to take and take and take until you don't have any more to give. So it really does come down to setting boundaries. And then the hardest part, holding them. I don't know how to make that easy, but it is definitely worth it.
But that is why being able to predict what's coming is so valuable. That's how you can make sure you're putting time and energy where it will make the biggest difference so that you can leave work on time and go enjoy your life.
So if you take one thing from today, we want you to remember that you don't have to be a perfect teacher. The goal is just to be a responsive one. And unlike perfection, responsiveness is actually something you can achieve.
Speaking of which, this is where we tell you where you can learn more about our system. Structure and Spark, a flexible framework for every classroom curveball, comes out tomorrow.
And that means today is your last chance to pre-order and get our bonuses that go with it. Those close at midnight. So if you want them, place your pre-order with your favorite online bookstore and then fill out the quick form at secondstorywindow.net/book so we know where to send everything. And you can find that link in the show notes.
Now for our teacher-approved tip of the week, where we share an actionable tip to help you elevate what matters and simplify the rest. If this one sounds familiar, that's because this is your annual reminder to think of next year's back to school while you're prepping for this one. So let's hear more about it, Heidi.
Okay, we know that the timing of this makes it sound like we're adding one more thing to your overflowing plate. But we do have to talk about this right now because right now you have a clear perspective that is going to fade very quickly over the next few weeks. So take 30 seconds and set up a list, whether that's a note in your phone, an email to yourself, or a Google Doc. It doesn't matter. You just need somewhere that you will remember to look again. And then as you are prepping all of your back to school tasks, write down all of the things that you are doing right now that could have been done ahead of time.
Yeah, so drafting your Meet the Teacher letter is a good example because you can write most of that before you even know what grade you're teaching. And that means it's something you could get out of the way anytime between now and next year's first day. And that frees up a little time and energy for the tasks that can't be done in advance. So the second you catch yourself doing something that didn't need to wait, that you could have done sooner, add it to the list.
And then while you are at it, flag anything that someone else could have done. Like they probably can't write your Meet the Teacher letter, but cutting out papers is something anyone could do for you. And that way, when you have parent helpers in May, or if it's state testing and all of the interventionists that usually pull kids need something to do, you've got tasks that are ready to hand off that are going to get you ready for the first day of school.
And even if your helpers can't do all of a task, if they can get you started, you'll still be ahead of the game. So for example, if you're doing the Saving Sam team building activity every year, have a helper fill baggies with paper clips and bowls ahead of time. Then all you have to do on the day is add the gummy worms. So even those small tasks save time in the long run.
All right, to wrap up the show, we are sharing what we're giving extra credit to this week. Emily, what gets your extra credit?
I'm giving extra credit to the Color Stack Challenge game. So I told you about piles recently. This is our other favorite game from this year. And it is a game where you pull out a base and then you put 5 tubes on the top of it. So think of it like it's up, it's vertical like a Connect 4 board, but imagine it's just 5 round pegs basically, but they're plastic. And then you've got a collection of these big, they're not beads obviously, but they look like a very, very big bead that would go on these tubes. So the way it works is you'd pull out a card and each of you set up your board to start the exact same way. So that it's not just like if they win on randomly and then someone has a bit of an edge because theirs happened to work better with the puzzle that needs to be solved. So basically, the idea is you want to get all of the little beads of the same color on one tube. And there's only enough room for those 10 beads. And there's enough tubes that there's 2 empty. So you kind of have a spot you can move things.
I think I've played a game on my phone that's similar. It's like a Color Stack Challenge.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
Once you guys have your boards set up the same way with the starting, then you're both racing to see who can get all of their colors sorted the quickest. And the rule is you can only put one color on top of a bead of the same color, or you could put it on an empty tube. That's the only place you can move. So if you have 3 pinks in a row and there's enough room on another tube that has a pink, you could move that over there, but you couldn't move it just to get it out of the way and put it on some greens just to move it. You can't do that. So mostly I can beat my kids at this, except my teenager is way better at it than me. And it makes me so mad. I always want another rematch and then she beats me again. So it comes with 2 of the stands. I think I might buy another set because it's only like $15. It's pretty affordable. I think I might buy another set so that all 4 of us can play at the same time.
Well, that sounds like a fun game.
They even have a travel size one that I keep in my analog bag to just like solo play and I don't have to rush because nobody's beating me. But it's pretty cleverly designed where you like slide the pegs out the bottom, shake up the container, and then slide them back in. And that mixes it up for you. So it's kind of fun.
Well, I'm going to get that for my analog bag. That sounds really fun.
It's cute.
Because I know I've liked playing that game on my phone, but then you're on a phone. So
yes, exactly. And the game that I used to play that on had so many ads. And I was not going to pay for an app like that. I'd rather just do it with my hands anyway. It's much more fun. So definitely get that. What are you giving extra credit to, Heidi?
Oh, this is easier to explain because it is a game, but this is a phone game. But it feels analog because it doesn't have a timer. It's just very gentle. It's called Yarn Fever. And I know I've seen tons of versions of this in the ads I get served online. I just picked this one at random, but so far I've really liked it. The ads only pop up at the end of a round, and then that's my signal to be done. So I don't play multiple rounds in a row because I don't want to sit through that. So that's actually been really good for me. So the idea is you have like a 3D image. Let's say it's a teddy bear. And then you have 2 boxes of spools in certain colors. So maybe you have blue and pink. And the teddy bear is in all these different colors. So you tap the pink on the teddy bear, and that corner of the teddy bear, like the yarn, travels to the spool. So you have to fill the 3 spools, and then that basket's taken out and you get a new color. So the idea is to unravel all of the yarn that is making up this picture. So it's very calming. There's not a timer. I just like to be able to tap. It really has been a nice little unwind if you got to be on your phone.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try Yarn Fever. And then afterwards, when I hit the ad, I'll put my phone away and I'll do my travel color stack challenge.
There you go. Sounds like a win. What an evening.
Hey, we know how to live around here.
Well, that is it for today's episode. Remember that pre-order bonuses for Structure and Spark close tonight at midnight. So after you order, head to secondstorywindow.net/book and fill out a quick form so that we can be sure to get you those bonuses.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Teacher Approved. I'm Heidi.
And I'm Emily. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow or subscribe in your podcast app so that you never miss an episode.
You can connect with us and other teachers in the Teacher Approved Facebook group. We'll see you here next week. Bye for now.
Bye.